parents' worst nightmare.
We have very little information to go on here.
Missing
6-year-old Isabel Celis.
Now on the hunt for missing 6-year-old Isabel Mercedes Celis.
Searching the home where a 6-year-old girl vanished over the weekend.
We're labeling it as suspicious circumstances and a possible abduction.
Checking each and every car that went in and out of this East Side neighborhood.
She was checked on her this morning at about 8 o'clock.
They woke up Saturday and she was gone.
Found that she was not in her room at that point.
6-year-old Isabel Mercedes Celis was gone.
Investigators found, quote, suspicious circumstances in Isabel's bedroom.
We have a window that was open and a screen removed.
The investigation has hit a roadblock.
Contact each and every one of the identified sex offenders that live within a 3-mile radius.
We have bloodhounds that are checking the area as well, pick up any scent of the little girl.
Isabel's parents were questioned all night long.
The family has been cooperating with us.
That's just not a possibility if you knew this family.
We're not ruling out anything in this investigation.
There's just no possible way that the family would have anything to do with this.
We place everything in the hands of God.
Her mother is beside herself.
Still no sign of Isabel, and the clock continues to tick.
You don't think anything like that would actually really happen to you.
Tonight, exclusive new developments in the mystery of Isabel Celis' disappearance that you will only see on this show. We've obtained exclusive audio from the police as they responded to the disappearance and possible kidnapping of the 6-year-old. You will hear exactly what cops said and heard as it was happening, starting with this very first dispatch to Isabel's home that fateful morning. Listen to this.
2 possible kidnapping at 5602 East 12. 1-6 complainant woke up and their 6-year-old daughter is gone. They searched the house. The window was found open and the screen was outside on the ground.
We'll analyze more of this audio, which we've obtained exclusively in just moments. But first, another big development. Tonight, Arizona cops hunting for this man captured on surveillance video at a convenience store. Sheriff's deputies want to talk to him about a nearby unsolved sexual assault case involving a young girl that occurred around the date that Isabel vanished. Could these two cases be connected? That assault happened just 10 miles away from Isabel's home. Cops say a man broke into a bedroom where 3 little girls were sleeping and sexually assaulted at least one of them. There are scary similarities between that case and missing Isabel Celis. Both happened in the middle of the night, both in Tucson homes, in girls' bedrooms, and in both cases, little girls were the apparent target. Now cops want to find this man in connection with the case. Take a good look. A white male, 20s, wearing a green sleeveless shirt, dark shorts. So many developments. Call me, 1-877-JVM says, 1-877-586-7297. With me tonight, investigative reporter and our new JVM contributor, John Lieberman. John, good work, excellent work. You obtained exclusively and analyzed these police scanner tapes, and we're going to go through them with you in depth because you have found discrepancies between what we've been told about the child's disappearance and what the scanner tapes reveal. But first, straight out to K-Gun reporter Jessica Chapin on the ground in Tucson. Jessica, what is the very latest?
Well, the very latest is that there is still not very much information to report from the Tucson Police Department. They did release the amount of money spent on the investigation so far, tops $1 million. They still have about 50 people involved in the investigation, combing through more than 1,000 leads that people have called into their Crime Stoppers tips line. But still, those searches, the possible sightings, have yielded nothing in terms of being able to track down the missing 6-year-old. Have you seen the parents out there searching at a command post, or are they pretty much behind the scenes at this point? You know, they did make a couple of public appearances last week. On Friday, they did sit down with local media. They talked to our station and a couple of others, giving a very detailed interview with us. Saturday, they were at one of the fundraisers. But since Saturday, really, we haven't seen them out in the public eye. All right, Jessica, stand by. We're going to get back to you. Here is more of this exclusive police audio from the scanners, the police scanners, the very morning Isabel was discovered missing. Listen closely to who they say is on the scene of the crime.
It is reference East 12, the missing 6-year-old, the number 1 female, light brown hair, hazel eyes, about 40 pounds. Seen in a pink tank top and navy blue shorts when she was put to bed. The plan is actually going to be the sister, and it looks like mom is en route.
Well, that is fascinating. Isabel's mom was not there. We were told she woke up the morning of Isabel's disappearance and left for work at 7:30 in the morning for her job as a nurse. And then we were told the father went to wake up Isabel at 8 a.m. and she was gone. But in this audio tape, John Lieberman, police are saying the complainant was the sister. Now, Isabel has no sisters, just brothers. If the father discovered his daughter missing, why is the father not the one who is the complainant meeting cops showing up at the scene?
Well, and that's the key question. The first thing that stuck out to me when I listened to the tape was there was a huge, massive police response very quickly. The second thing, though, when I started examining it was just what you mentioned, which was that they say the complainant was a sister and mom was coming home. Now, we do know mom was apparently at work, so mom's coming home, but there's no mention of dad at all, and dad clearly was not the one who called 911. And add that to the fact that the parents and the extended family, nobody has been ruled out as suspects. They haven't been named suspects, but they haven't been ruled out either. And so we are starting to get a more fuller glimpse of what is going on here.
Yeah, it's very strange to me. You think it'd be the dad, and there you're seeing some of the family members going in and out of the house as they were interviewed by law enforcement, taken back to the house and questioned by detectives. Let's get back to this new audio of the police scanner talk that we've obtained exclusively. Chattered from the first moments cops learned little Isabel had vanished. Listen to this. It's the first time anyone heard any details about the missing child.
The missing child from 5602 East 12th, last seen yesterday at 2200 hours, Isabel Celis, number 1 female. 4 foot, brown hair, hazel eyes, born in 2005, had her hair in braids. Last seen wearing a pink top and navy shorts.
Now, the key there is that they said 2200 hours. That's military lingo, meaning 10 p.m. Okay? But after Isabel vanished, the media told us the child was put to sleep and last seen an hour later. Listen to this.
The child was last seen as she went to bed at 11 o'clock Friday night, and then at 8 o'clock Saturday morning is when they discovered her missing.
Okay, spell out the discrepancy there, John.
Well, the key discrepancy is clearly the call came out. Whoever called into police, this female who the dispatcher thought was the sister, but as you mentioned, there is no sister. So who is that female? But whoever that female was apparently told police, you heard it right there, that the last time the girl was seen was when she was put to bed at 10 o'clock at night. But then police came out and said 11 o'clock at night. So who is this mystery woman who called into the dispatcher that you just heard?
Arthur Roderick, you're a former assistant director of the U.S. Marshals who has caught numerous men on the most wanted list. I want to get your take on this, because is it natural? And we'll throw this out to Joe Gomez, senior investigative reporter, KTRH News Radio. Is it natural to expect that there are going to be discrepancies in the many criminal cases that you've covered, that this is just human nature? People are under the gun, they're stressed, they're hysterical. They're not going to remember. They're not looking at their watch like they've got a dental appointment, Joe.
Well, that's right, Jade. I mean, you know, typically, look, if you woke up in the middle of the night and you found out that your daughter was missing, I mean, certainly you would be severely distressed. It concerns me that they say that there's a woman's voice, on the phone when there was no woman present. Now, there's a lot of discrepancies in this case that police are still not, fully disclosing. They're not telling us a lot of the details in missing Isabel's case, which, I mean, I understand why they're keeping a lot of this stuff close to the vest, Jane. But at the same time, it leads the American public to just jump to conclusions like this. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see what police disclose in the end. But this is really, I mean, it's very concerning.
Robbie Ludwig, psychotherapist, author Till Death Do Us Part. We're seeing discrepancies. Mm-hmm. To recap and review, the two key discrepancies, we were told the child was put to sleep and last seen at 11 p.m. The police dispatcher says 10 p.m. That's an hour's difference. Also, we're hearing that the dad was the one who found the child missing, discovered the child's missing, but he is not the one who is meeting police who are arriving at the scene, which raises the question, why not? Where would the dad be? Now, could he be scanning the neighborhood, running around hysterically, going door to door, looking for the child? He's not considered a suspect. There's no suspects here, but nobody's been eliminated as a suspect.
Right. Well, I mean, as we know, we have to look at the families in this case because we don't really know anything about them. And when there are missing pieces of a puzzle like this, especially when it comes to a child abduction, it's natural to fill it in with the worst possible scenario. Was this father abusive in any way? Is he avoiding the police because he doesn't want to reveal any guilt? But the truth of the matter is we need more information, and unfortunately we know it is possible for little girls to be abducted from their homes.
It is possible, and this whole thing of the window being open and the screen being out, we have to take a look at that because that's what the police were told on these scanners, Joe.
Absolutely. I mean, you hear in the initial dispatch, you know, whoever called said that she wasn't in bed, that they searched the house and they found her bedroom window open and the screen outside. The reason why this dispatch is so important as well is police are going to compare all the statements they took initially at the scene with subsequent statements, too, to see if the stories are consistent or if they contradict one another. And therein lies the real important part of the beginning of the investigation.
More tape, more discrepancies on the other side of the break.
There's actually a navy blue tank top with Old Navy writing, navy blue basketball shorts.
And you are listening to more of that exclusive audio from the night little Isabel disappeared. You will only hear it right here on the show. And here is what police reported about how Isabel was discovered missing. Listen closely.
When the father went to get her up, she was not in the bed. They searched the residence and found her bedroom window open and the screen on the ground outside.
So the police are confirming that it was Isabel's father who went to find her, and she wasn't there. You're looking at Isabel's father and mother right there. He's been very emotional at news conferences. So again, you got to wonder why he's not the one reporting this child missing. So I certainly don't want to point the finger, and I'm going to take this out to Jessica Chapin, reporter K-Gun. She is on the ground in Tucson. But I will say, we'll go to Joe Gomez on this, senior investigative reporter, KTRS News Radio. The parents have said outright in a recent news conference they had nothing to do with this. At first, they were criticized for not going out there and beating the bushes immediately. Then they were criticized for not answering reporters' questions. Now they've answered reporters' questions. And still, people are, kind of wondering, given that, well, take a look at this new exclusive information that we've obtained saying the dad discovered the child missing, and nevertheless, he was not the complainant calling authorities.
Well, Jane, I mean, we weren't there. We didn't know the exact circumstances that, went down when they discovered that Isabel was missing. We're just basing this on some evidence that we have right now from some scanner tape. But what we do know based on these interviews is that this family is emotionally crippled. I mean, look, if I lost my daughter, I honestly don't know what I would do. I think perhaps I wouldn't talk to the media. I might just be paralyzed or frozen. I mean, these folks haven't even gone to work, Jane. They've been so distraught over missing Isabel. So I think it's too early to point the finger of blame at let's say the family. But as we do know though, Jane, as you know, in these abduction cases, typically it's never a stranger that abducts a child.
All right, let's go back to Charlie, Kentucky. Your question or thought, Charlie? Charlie. Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
What's your question or thought?
I reckon it could have been the cousin or the kidnapper one that made the phone call.
Say that again. I'm going to ask my EP. What exactly did he say? Say that again.
I reckon it could have been the kidnapper or the cousin one that made the phone call.
John, did you hear what he's saying?
Could the kidnapper have made the phone call? Is that the question?
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's an interesting question. Could the person who was responsible for the disappearance of the child have been the one to make the...
To try to understand why this is happening, why this had to happen, why Isabel had to be targeted. We just don't understand that. And to whomever did this, please look at her. Look at her. She's beautiful. She doesn't deserve this.
Now, that was from the Today Show. The parents very emotional. Some people during that interview wondered why the father just didn't come out and say flat out, hey, we had nothing to do with Isabel's disappearance. And I think people have a tendency, Robbie Ludwig, to judge because they haven't walked in their shoes. Who knows how any of us would behave if something this extraordinary happened? We might not behave rationally. We might not come out and rationally say, no, I did not have anything to do with it, because in our hearts, we might know that we didn't.
Right, or there could be strong parental guilt, period. So even if somebody isn't directly involved with the crime, I know if a child was abducted or my, God forbid, child was abducted from my apartment, I would feel responsible, whether I had something to do with it or not, because I wasn't doing my job as a parent protecting my children.
Now, Arthur Roderick, you are a former assistant director of the U.S. Marshals. You have caught numerous most wanted men. I want to ask you about one key fact that we haven't gotten to here, is that police dogs hit on something at or near the house, which I think is perhaps the most significant aspect of all of this. We're listening to these exclusive tapes with some discrepancies in what we've been told from what cops were saying at first. But what do you make of the fact that police dogs hit on something at or near the house?
I mean, obviously, Jane, good evening. Obviously, that's an important key part. But I also think in some of your previous conversations with the other speakers is that the mere fact that the Marshal Service is involved in this case could be some indication that there's possibly sex offender involvement. That's the Marshal Service jurisdiction, is the apprehension and location of unregistered sex offenders. And for them to be involved in this particular case with the FBI and state and locals is of some significance.
All right. I think that's a very good point. Let's go out to the phone lines. Brenda, California, your question or thought, Brenda.
Hi, Jane.
Hi.
Yes, I was wondering what the age group of the other girls were that were assaulted.
The age group of the other girls, 10 miles away. And my recollection, Joe Gomez, is that one was the exact same age as Isabel, 6. And then the second one was 8, and the third one was 10. So there you have the 3 girls 10 miles away who were confronted by this molester, they say. At least one of them was sexually assaulted. And now we have the new video, cops searching for this person that they want to talk to about that. So you heard Arthur Roderick say, hey, this could be a predator. That could lead back to that other case that happened 10 miles away, Joe.
That's right, Jane. You know, look, I mean, given the circumstances here, the fact that these other girls were attacked, I mean, the fact that another predator struck, I mean, you know how many sex offenders are out there in Arizona. There's a ton. And it would make me want to sleep with my gun next to my bed, frankly.
Yeah, again, the sex assault suspect, in his 20s, dark hair, dark shorts, and we saw some surveillance video. We are all over the story.